first of all, is there anybody, there is being no one in the audience from the public, we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting and turn it over to Mr. Samario.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Hart. So today at our council meeting this afternoon, we are going to be presenting the 2015 recommended budget. And today will just be an overview with council, and then subsequent to that, we'll have departments presenting their respective budgets over the next 6 weeks or so. Concurrent with that, as we do every year, we come to the Finance Committee and we go over some things that are in more detail in areas that we wouldn't necessarily cover at a department level, but like non-departmental revenues, for example, and fees. But we always like to come on the first day to ask if there are any other topics you would like us to cover in addition to sort of the standard things that we would cover normally. And so that's why we're here today, just to really ask for your input, direction on topics in the past. For example, we've covered pensions and we want to get more information on that, or unfunded liabilities related to infrastructure. So those are some things in the past we've covered. So up on the screen, you'll see where we're planning over the next several weeks. Today, of course, just to get your input. Next Tuesday, we will be going over essentially tax revenues and the assumptions that were used to develop not only this year's projections, but next year's, and an updated multi-year forecast. And then we'll look at fees both from the general fund and then in enterprise funds. And you'll see a bullet there on the May 13th for proposed drought rates. We'll actually be, I think we've done a lot of talking about those, and so we'll probably just be folding that into the enterprise proposed fees changes, and water will be part of that. On May 20th, we will follow up with anything that throughout any of these meetings, you've asked us to bring back some more information, and we'll bring it back to that point. And if we have any staff recommended adjustments, the changes that have occurred since today that we want to make to the budget before it's adopted, we'll bring them to you as well. And then we'll look for final direction then. But so that's kind of our schedule, and just to see if you wanted to add anything and we can fit it into these dates, or if we have to, we'll set up another meeting. But just at this point, just turn it back over to you and see what you wanted to add.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hart, any comments?
Well, I think this is a great schedule. I don't actually have anything else to add. I guess the only thing that just occurs to me is that, the state of California is in a little bit better fiscal situation than it has previously been in the last 5 years. And I wonder if you're aware through the League of Cities about any potential changes in funding that might be available to local government. Seems like I don't expect that there are, because the state still has a big, deficit that they're trying to fill. And the governor's spoken very clearly about wanting to establish a rainy day fund. And there is a big laundry list of competing state needs. But if there was anything that you were aware of that might change our potential revenue streams down the road,
Sure.
It'd be nice to know about that.
Okay.
And plug that into somewhere in the conversation.
Okay.
Well, okay, great. Anything else?
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Two things that come to my mind. One is although we've talked about the pensions in the past, I just feel like that's one of the areas that is where there's still it doesn't feel resolved to me. It just feels like it's one of our biggest concerns, both short and long term. So I would appreciate having another round of that. I know that for me, as I work on this year after year, somewhat different questions come up and somewhat different ways to try and understand it come up. And I don't think of it even as something necessarily that's okay, well, part of the budget process. It's more sort of a state of the city kind of issue. And as for instance, so that to even return to the good work that you have provided, I know I've learned an awful lot when you've come back around and reviewed the big picture of the pensions. How much what are the city's obligations? How are those changing year to year? Obviously, we've had I think a large number, for example, of firefighters that retired, was it last year? And that's a substantial amount of money going out now for those retirees. So one area that would be interesting, I think, not only, again, I hope that I'm asking questions that our citizenry consider interesting as well, is what are we paying monthly, or what did we pay last year? What came out of our account last year for retirees? And so, how does that break down on a monthly payment basis? That's one area that, I know we have financial professionals in the room. The awareness that every month that goes by that we're not dealing with the problem, it gets to be a tougher problem to deal with. We're putting out all this money each month. It means there's less in the box for the future. I would be interested in learning a little bit more about that, either part of the budget process or later in the summer at the Finance Committee. That's one area. The other one is just going to be old hat to Mr. Hart and that's the SB-CAG financing. I don't understand it, and so that would be, I think, a good piece. Obviously, the city's finances are intertwined there, so to have a little primer on that, I think would be useful for me and hopefully for those that need to, we'll get around to looking at this meeting.
Okay. Kind of a follow-up question to the first item. Were you thinking about pensions specifically, or did you want, when you talk about month, we're just talking about retirement?
Pension.
Okay.
Exactly. I know it's rising, and is it a line item in our budget? I mean, at least it's as I understand, it's gone from a footnote. It's sort of getting considered as a stronger. I mean, obviously it's a big number, so now it's being considered with more headlines. I do think that again, perhaps some of this information will filter out to the public, and I think it's useful.
I think both of those are all three of them are doable, so we'll be definitely be able to bring that back to you.
Okay, and as far as I've always felt that the way we get brought through the budget process is again, for me, it's each year perhaps I can absorb only so much, and that as they're going by, I learn more. So I find it to be a useful process.
Good. I think you'll see up there that we have all the meetings starting at regular time. Depending on how much time we think we're going to take for some of these other topics, we might have to start a little earlier. You can see on the 13th, we are starting early at 12, so we might be able to put at least one topic in there without changing that. But just be sensitive to the fact, and we'll, of course, alert you, but that we may
Yes,
need to
please.
start at 12. We're always sensitive of making sure we end really at 1:30, at the latest 1:40, so you have time to get back. So
Yeah,
we never go so close to 2 that it makes it difficult for you.
Anytime there's a change of either time or venue, I sure appreciate.
Sure.
Or whatever electroshock method you can use, I'd sure appreciate.
Okay.
Okay. Well, is there anything else to discuss?
Just for me, I'm open to starting at 12 if that helps.
Okay.
The schedule
Good.
anytime,
Sure.
so.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Great.
Great. Thank you
Okay.
very much. That was
Well,
really
thank you
good.
very much. The meeting's adjourned.
Okay.